Good evening everyone, Evgenia here, going live on Evgenia's Coaching Facebook page on day number 29 out of 30. And today I'm going to be talking about toxic relationships, something that a dear viewer has been requesting of me of late. So there you go, Maria, this is especially for you. First, let me share this on my personal page as always, and just like always, thank you very much for your patience. I'm almost there. Today is one of those days when I can't wait to just go and do my thing, namely relax, but I am also more than happy to show up here, so here I am. Okay. Have you ever been in a toxic relationship, first of all? For those of you seeing the replay, because I don't see anyone with me, but do let me know if you have been in one or more, like me, and what you found the most challenging when in them. I'm just going to tag this lovely lady as she's requested, and I'll be right back with you. There she is. Cool. All yours. So, toxic relationships. This is again a freestyling video with no notes as such, where I'm just going to share whatever is coming up for me at this moment and get a bit more comfortable. So, what is a toxic relationship, first of all? A toxic relationship, in my humble understanding, or not so humble, is, I mean, I've been in a few of those, with family members, with partners, with friends, you know, yeah, so I have some idea, some experience with them, all of which I've overcome, proudly and gladly, and I guess like the common denominator of all of them has been that they've been disempowering. What does that mean? It means when a certain person or your relationship with that person makes you doubt yourself, or just disencourages you to follow your dreams and what you want to do with your life, to be your own person. What else? Obviously, if there's any psychological or physical abuse, obviously this is a very obvious sign. But sometimes, the thing is that sometimes, at least for me, it took me so long to realize that I was being emotionally manipulated and mentally and emotionally manipulated. It's so difficult to catch those. Like if it was physical abuse, which I've also had, it's undeniable. It's so easy to recognize and do something about it. But sometimes the abuse is not physical, and then it's very tricky, because it's not necessarily because the person, the abuser, is a mean person. They usually do it because they hurt themselves. But the thing is that they do certain very nasty things which we sometimes can't recognize, because and this is usually, we can't recognize them because we are wounded ourselves. And it feels like I'm jumping a bit ahead in the topic, but it's the weaker our boundaries, the more difficult it is to recognize abuse. So this is how we recognize them. Hello, one person, who are you? Say hello. It would be nice to see who is watching. So yeah, where did we get to? We recognize them by the disempowering effect they have on us, like when we doubt ourselves, when we doubt our sanity, when we literally feel like a leak in our energy. It's like we are less driven to go for what we want in life. We sometimes become less ambitious, or we feel that we're not supported in our ambitions. This is usually all signs of a toxic relationship. And as I said, now if you have really strong boundaries, meaning like you're very clear on what you would and would not accept within your field, within your life, for yourself, then it's easy to recognize that, because it usually takes us so much energy to live with something so toxic that every self-respecting person with good, strong boundaries would not tolerate, because it would mean just literally wasting your life. Why would you do that if you value yourself? And as I've said before on my boundaries video, you must value yourself in order to have boundaries. You can't have boundaries if you don't value yourself. And the only reason to not have boundaries is to not value yourself. There is no other reason. So a very good safeguard against any toxicity in our life is valuing ourselves. Going back to the same old. But yeah, it is so important. As for I so wish there was somebody with me to have this conversation. If you're watching the replay, please engage with me, even though in the replay, and I'll get back to you, because it's an interesting topic and a very important one, and would be good to get deeper into it together. So next I want to address, I guess, is what has been the most difficult for me during all of my toxic relationships. Well, this has been, first it has been to set and reinforce boundaries, and secondly it has been very difficult to leave when these boundaries have not been respected. On the first one, I think the first one is actually really the most difficult, because being able to leave a toxic relationship when you really know you have to, it's really not good for you. In order to do something like that, you have to really set up your boundaries, set up a boundary, and set up a true boundary, because there are cases of people who leave a toxic relationship only to end up in another one, which is often quite similar. And in those cases, those people haven't really haven't established a boundary, but a wall. And I've touched on that in my boundaries live video as well, of a few days ago. I'm not sure exactly which day it was. It was one of these this sequence out of 30 videos. I think it was within the last 10 days or something. But there I explain about the difference between a boundary and a wall. And what happens is, when we set a wall instead of a boundary, it's very easy to keep somebody outside. But for example, if somebody is abusing you, or you're in some toxic relationship with someone, and you erect this wall, right? But when you do, this wall is against the person who has done something to you, usually. And it's done out of like reactivity and not a thoughtful, wholesome and complete recognition of your own value, but of some, fight and flight response to protect yourself. And that's where the difference is. When if you just set up a wall, it will, this is just so brilliant, it will keep this person away, okay, but you will be sent another one of the same sort until you finally learn to value yourself. And this is the brilliant thing I just mentioned, because life is so kind to us, and sometimes we can't really see the blessings in things that happen for us, and we see them as a curse. But if you really try, we can see a blessing in everything. And the blessing in my own suffering with all this bunch of toxic people I've had in my life, and some of them not necessarily that toxic, but also just not, not genuine. Because this is also kind of, I mean, it's I wouldn't say it's toxic, but it's kind of the same thing. It's just in a much lighter form. But down the bottom line, it's about the same thing. It's about respecting yourself, about another having the necessary respect for yourself. And the thing is that until and unless you respect yourself truly and deeply and completely, nobody else is going to respect you to that level. So it's so beautiful to look around and see what we are surrounded by, and really recognize those things, because it really is a reflection of our internal world in so many ways. And this is not very easy to admit a lot of the times, because it sucks, especially if it's it sucks when when you're surrounded by negative and disempowering things, and lack, and pain, and abuse, and all sorts of grotesque situations. They only reflect what's actually going on within you, your own relationship with yourself. And if you look at it as like a scientist, as opposed to the victim of your life or of circumstances, it actually becomes really interesting, because you start looking at it like a game, like a puzzle that you need to put together, and it's up to you. You may want to take responsibility and put it together, or you may want to just keep blaming the puzzle for not being put together. And it's all good. I mean, as I've mentioned in another video, I forget which one exactly it was, gosh, lost my thought. That's what happens when you jump from branch to branch. It's just so much to dive deep into. What was I on about? See, now it would be so helpful if I had at least one viewer to remind me. I think this is a first. I've never quite lost my thought like that now. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm really relaxed. Can't wait to just lay down. Oh, this is ridiculous. And here is where my self-love and my confidence doesn't let me feel bad about it. I hope it comes back, because it was something I had gathered this momentum of going somewhere which felt so cool. and then I jumped onto some derailing thing and I lost it all. Where was I? About life, reflecting back at us. Yes, what was the thing? That was something cool. Shame. Well, it is what it is. So yeah, it may not feel nice to have to admit sometimes that what we're surrounded by is actually reflects our own internal state and how I like to say, relationship with ourselves. But it is the only way to actually to approach it in a to use it as to be empowered by it, because by everything we can be empowered or disempowered, absolutely everything. And excuse me. And here's why courage is very important, because when you have the courage to take responsibility for all of it, this is where you are in charge of all of it. You can't be blaming things and people and be in charge all at the same time. It's just impossible. It doesn't make any sense. Because to blame you means to give all my power to you, and when I give all my power to you, I cannot be in charge, possibly because I have no power to be in charge with. By blaming you, I would admit that you are in charge of my experience, whatever it is. So it's either I'm in charge or you're in charge. We can't both be in charge. I mean, we can if you're on the same side, but assuming that, say, if you are my abuser, then obviously it will have to be either one or the other, because we clearly are not on the same side. And then this reminds me of, abusers are all suffering people who often don't even know that they're suffering. Sadly. And that's why I have compassion for all my abusers. I do. And at the same time, I have my boundaries, and they're nowhere near me. But I don't hate them. I don't resent them, and I don't blame them. I'm grateful to all of them for what's happened. And I'm just not having them around me. I hope this makes sense. As always, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. I would love to address them. Tomorrow is my last ever live. Last ever. That was a big fat lie. It's not the last ever live, but tomorrow is the last live of my 30 days going live in a row sequence, which was a self-challenge, which I've almost completed. It's been amazing. But I will be coming live again for sure, and usually, especially if you have any questions for me to address, because that's what I do it for after all. This is not my personal evening entertainment, it's something that I feel passionate about doing, so please be in touch. Let's have fun together. And of course, last but not least, do get in touch if you're ready and willing to dive deep with me into your internal world, which is being reflected into your external world. If you are creating things that you want to change, because I can help you in there big time. I will put a link to my calendar in the comments below, where you can book a complimentary curiosity call. This is what I call my consultation calls. They are curiosity calls because then we are both curious about each other, and you're curious about what it would be like to work with me and how that would look like, and I'll be curious about what's going on with you and if we are a good fit at this time. Hence, it's a curiosity call. I would love to hear from you, and for now, bye!